Hello, you're watching Bent TV. My name is Erin Kyan. My pronouns are he, him, and we are broadcasting from the lands of the Kulin Nation. And today I have a very, very special guest who I'm very biased about because it's my partner, Lee.
Hello.
Who also uses
Hi.
he, him pronouns. We've been together for about 13 years.
About 13 years, yep.
And I thought that it might be good for us to talk a little bit about how our relationship works, because one of the comments we get a lot is when people find out how long we've been together and people are like, oh my God, how do you do it? Like, that's amazing. You know, and I find that really a little bit sad because I think that we've internalized, especially in the queer world, we've internalized an idea that relationships are very fleeting, but they don't have to be.
We've been in a relationship for a long enough time that we're not really entirely sure about what it was like before we were in a relationship.
Yeah, and that, I mean, that's another thing. We got together when we were very young. We were both in our early 20s. So, like, we've become entirely different people
Yes.
In the time we've been together. And also our relationship has changed a lot because when we first got together, it was very, this is just casual. This is a casual relationship.
Yeah, and it was weird because during that period, I had just broken up from a relatively long-term relationship. It was around for about sort of 3 years or so. And I had a sort of bit of like, oh, I don't want to get trapped in another relationship again for quite some time. And it was actually going out with you and sort of slowly realizing, oh, actually, you know, this being in a relationship with people for a while, you know, I'm okay with this.
Sometimes
I can do this.
it's nice.
Yeah, I can do this. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
But I actually think something like that I've been very aware of, especially when I talk to my family, has been the whole time we've been together, we've had a very like, well, this could end at any time. And that sounds catastrophic, but it's actually not, because what that means is that we're not trying to owe each other anything.
Exactly.
And we're also not like trying to hold on too hard.
It gives the opportunity for the relationship to relax a little, because if it can end at any time, well, then you accept that, and then you can sort of look at the relationship and go, well, if this is going to end tomorrow, what's important?
But also, like, if I can walk away anytime, that means I get to decide to stay.
Exactly.
You know, that means I get to go, hey, I'm actually having a really good time.
Yeah.
And I don't want to leave, which I think is a really, like, good thing.
Yeah.
So one thing I would like to talk about with you is our communication styles, because, like, we've had so many conversations over the years. And, like, I feel like sometimes it's very interesting how we work out how to solve problems or discuss issues.
Yes, because my communication style is built a lot around my upbringing, and I have a tendency to not talk as much as I probably should about what's happening inside here. And a lot of that is because much of the time I can't verbalize what's going on in my head here. I don't have sort of the training or the processes to say, well, what am I feeling right now? What's actually going on here? And that's completely different from your perspective, from how you communicate with people.
I want to talk about everything all the time, right? Like right now, which is also one of my flaws, because like if we're discussing an issue that we can't solve in one conversation, I'll be like, no, I want to keep talking about it. I want to keep talking about it.
And I'll be like, but I don't know what to say next, Erin.
And sometimes we need to like have a nap
Yes.
before we can actually solve an issue. Like, and that's been really interesting, is bringing both of those things, which both have flaws, but then working with it.
Yeah.
Like, I can make you think about how you feel.
Yes.
You can make me take a nap.
Yes.
And not react to everything all at once.
Yes. Oh, and yes, the many times that's happened where it's like, Erin, can you just like take a nap for like just 10 minutes? Just think about this for a little bit, and we will get back to this when I have had time to think and understand what the hell I'm actually thinking about.
It reminds me a lot of, like, we don't really fight, but like it reminds me a lot of the saying of like, don't go to bed angry. Because like, I don't think that necessarily, but like, I did have this idea that I wanted to resolve things like as soon as possible, and the idea of sleeping it off and thinking about it the next day was really hard for me.
And the thing is, I just can't do that, because often what will happen is that you'll identify that I'm acting a little bit odd, and like something's coming, it's like, Lee, is there something wrong? And then I'll go, yeah, I think something is wrong. And you'll go, can you tell me what it is? And I'll say, no, I absolutely cannot. And it will often take, like, often we'll have a conversation for like 10, 15 minutes, try and tease it out. And then, you know, we'll get frustrated when we realize we can't do that. And then the next day I'll go, oh, that was the problem. Because, you know, a little bit of time for me, like I can think about other things, and then it just, everything sort of collides together. I go, that's how it works.
And I feel
Yeah.
like the way this works out is we both come to the relationship with like good faith.
Yes.
Like, I assume that you're doing your best. You assume that I'm doing my best.
I mean, it's
And when you come at a problem like that, it's pretty hard to actually have conflict because
I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's easy to have conflict because, like, we do occasionally get into arguments, and we'll often have like differences of opinion. But what actually happens is that we can have those conflicts in a safe space. We can sit down and say, well, I know even if you're angry at me, there has to be a good reason for that. You're not angry at me for no reason. I can.
And
look
also,
back
if one of us is angry, we don't treat the other one badly.
Exactly.
Like, that was, I remember when we first started going out,
Yes.
one of the weirdest things was I was angry at you for something, who knows what.
Yeah.
And I just said, I'm kind of angry at you. And I remember you were like, oh no! But like,
Because in a lot of my experience, people being angry was often like associated with violence, or at least sort of very angry, very aggressive behavior. So the idea of someone just sitting with anger was a bit of like,
yeah, the idea that I could just feel it
Yeah.
and not react on it was a bit strange for you at the time, I remember.
well, it's still strange. But I now am aware of what that's like, and I can sort of sit down and say, well, okay, if you're angry, what do I need to do to try and fix this? Well, not necessarily fix this, but how to help figure out what the issue is.
Yeah.
Because sometimes the issue can't be fixed, and
Yeah.
we just have to acknowledge it and then move on. Because not every conflict in a relationship is solvable.
Yeah.
But sometimes you can live with the conflict, and that's
Yeah,
fine.
and I feel like that's a thing a lot, like, you know, with how making relationships last long term, like deciding, is this a problem for me overall, or is this something I can live with? And like, it doesn't have to be serious stuff either. It
Yeah.
can be little stuff. Like, I find it terribly embarrassing when you dance in the supermarket, but like,
But I will never stop.
but you'll never
I will
stop.
never stop.
But that's not, that's something that's I
Yes.
can live with, and that's fine.
It really comes to the question of, is this a hill worth dying on?
Yeah.
And we come with that a lot. Sometimes, you know, we'll do something that annoys each other, and sometimes we'll talk about something like
And-
this is really bugging me. And sometimes we'll go, well, actually, like, it bugs me, but it doesn't bug me enough to like force the conflict on this.
Yeah, and like letting it go as well. Not
Yes.
just going, well, we can't solve this.
Yes.
But, you know, I still want to be with you. But you can't do that and then simmer
No.
and resent
No,
it.
absolutely not.
Like, you have to actually let it go.
Exactly right. I would say before we stop is that, like, the one thing you need to recognize is that conflict will come up in a relationship. And while sometimes relationships can be hard and conflicts can be really scary, like, in order to maintain a relationship, you have to be able to look at those conflicts and say, there's something important here that we need to look at.
Yeah.
And you may get to the point where at the end it's not resolvable, but sometimes you can say, well, this is the problem. We're not ever going to meet in the middle, but we might be able to live with it.
Yeah.
And that's something that I think really has meant that our relationship has continued for as long as it has, because we can sit down and say, well, even if we can't meet in the middle, we can at least live with not doing that.
We can do that because the things that have come up with that have been things that are okay for us to live
Yes.
with.
Yes.
Like, sometimes you need to break up.
Oh yeah.
Like, sometimes you got to break up.
Yes, that happens. Yeah.
I think that just having a lot of good faith towards each other and actually talking about things,
Yes.
really talking about things, not yelling about things, not hinting about things,
No.
talking about things, goes a long way, I think.
Agreed.
Thank you for bearing our relationship.
It's not bearing,
to the
it's
TV
working
world.
on the relationship.
Yeah, let's go with that.
Yes.
This is just more practice.
Yes.
Yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this. You've been watching Bent TV. Thank you for watching.